Race Days Committee for the last several years. It's a tough equation. It used to be easy because it was a given that there were plenty of horses, and you had an historic schedule from Santa Anita to Hollywood to Del Mar, and then back to Santa Anita, then to Hollywood. And then all the people could quibble about field size somewhat over the years, but now it has gotten to be much more of a challenge, and there do need to be some dates cuts made. I think the whole issue, do we use a scalpel or an axe to make the cuts? I'm in favor of more of a scalpel approach, because the industry has so many different people dependent on it. There's a lot of jobs associated with every race day, and I think we want to, there's at some point you've got to make pretty drastic changes, but I hate to see us get down where I'm against the big gap theory, because that puts a lot of people out of work for a long time. And when all of us have horses, we send them to the track. It's hard to tell when to send a horse to the track. We send a horse to the track every 2 or 3 weeks probably, and they don't just all happen to fit a pattern, and we're going to give them a break in a certain month. And we'll give all our horses get breaks, either just to freshen them up or because they got an injury at some point, but not necessarily that predictable that we want to have a month gap sometime. And plus, I think we'd lose a lot of the employees throughout the system, because I don't think we as owners, I appreciate John's situation where you're losing the horses, you're bringing the horses that really probably shouldn't be at the track, but you're trying to make your employees work, but we've got to figure out some way to make the game economical too. As far as the night deal, I think night racing has a lot of intrigue to it. And Hollywood, especially when it first started out, did really well. We had actually, there was a big debate at that time with the horsemen not wanting to do it nights. But I don't think nights are necessarily the answer, because we have become so dependent on simulcasting to the east, and we're not in a great time zone as far as night racing. But I think it's a partial, can be a highlight, but it's not a panacea at all. As far as the wagering itself, depends on the more races we run within reason, assuming you can get 7 or 8 horses in them, the more wagering there's going to be. If you ran every day, you'd probably wager more in a week than if you run 3 days or 4 days. But the wagering per race is going to be more if you run fewer days, and the purses per race will be more. But we do have a whole lot of other considerations. And I think, as a breeder, I'm concerned too that our foal crops are going down. And the reason they're going down is not because people don't like to breed horses and race horses to be part of the business. It's just the economics are so tough that it's costing more to breed horses and to get them to the track, and there's so many things can happen to them and in the economy now, as people historically have made money in other areas and put it in their horses, now they're not doing that well either, and whatever else they were doing. So it's a little bit scary. I think California is an island, so if you're here and you want to see your horses run in a live setting, you're pretty well going to run them in California, which is what keeps the Cowbreds here. Plus, we've got our Incentive Awards program that keeps them here too. But now with HRTV and TVG, I mean, you can have a horse any place and see it run. So that's not as big of a factor as it used to be. And I think bringing in races, I mean, the way we're going to make it work if we go to a 4-day week, or hopefully not a 3-day week, but it is through the simulcasting where we're bringing a race in from Aqueduct or Gulfstream or someplace. We're paying them 3% for that, but there's about a 20% takeout. So California's getting 17% of what's bet on that Gulfstream race stays here. Of course, if we could get where they're handling, a couple million on a dark day here, so that 17% is getting split up somewhere. You get another 300,000 to split to go back into purses other days of the week and commissions as well. But it's just a tough equation, and everyone's got a little different approach to it. I mean, one of the big controversies with the fairs, a lot of people don't like the fairs, and I'm a defender of the fairs personally, because I think they do expose racing to more people around the state, because very few people become long-term racing fans who have never had a live race experience. If somebody goes to the races at Fresno or Ferndale or someplace, they may well become a fan and keep coming back. And so I hate to see us, you know, take the attitude that fairs are, you know, kind of dinosaurs and should go away. So we'll look forward to the discussion.
Right now, we have 2 days between meets. One meet ends on a Sunday, another one starts on a Wednesday, and a lot of people have suggested, why don't we just make it 9 days, put an extra week in there? I'd like to get hear what you have to say, John Harris and John Sadler and Tom Robbins on that.
As far as 9 days or 5 days or whatever, I think all the parties have to come together and see what it looks like. I certainly think a week between meets would be reasonable at this point for the inventory we have.
Okay, Tom?
Well, if given the choice between gaps between meets or fewer races per week, I would opt for the latter. I think if I could have both, I would prefer both, of course, but I think knowing how horses run back, I think it's important not to run as much during the week, in successive weeks. 2-day gaps between meetings don't work anymore, we recognize that, but as mentioned earlier, it's expensive to run these facilities, and you know, it's a perspective, again, from my point of view, and we work closely with the owners. It's the same thing, it's all about wagering, and it's that age-old battle about trying to get people in here, and the proceeds from getting people in here, the non-wagering proceeds that keep these facilities going. But getting back to the original question, I would prefer to have fewer races per week. It worked for us. Our field size remained the same last year when everybody, and once again, I want to stress, it's not just a California phenomenon. This is happening all over. But we were able to keep our field size together, and the quality of racing at Del Mar was pretty much the same as what it had been in the past. So it worked for us. Our purse levels, I can't tell you enough and stress to you enough that by doing what we did, we kept individual purses at a level higher than it would have been if we had raced 6 days a week. So it's important for everybody to understand that.
I think still that I'd hate to see us go to 9 days, say, between meets. If we did that between all the meets, that would be, you know, well over a month. The no racing, where traditionally when there was racing, I think maybe there's a happy medium of 3 or 4 or 5 days between meets. But when we're paying those training bills every day and we're taking care of those horses every day, you can't just put them in the refrigerator and come back in 5 days and pull them out.